Do you believe property owners should have to give up land they have encroached on, improving it with structures or landscaping, unwittingly and innocently?
I'm not too sure I understand the question.
The way I'm reading it, this person, I think, is suggesting that if a property owner has unwittingly and innocently encroached upon land, then, and they've improved it and landscaped and put structures and whatnot, should they have to give it up?
If a property owner encroached upon, let's say, public lands or private lands
Yeah.
That do not belong to them, there needs to be some recourse. There needs to be some settlement made. If otherwise, you'd be taking property away from somebody else, or you would be taking away public lands, which from that standpoint, I would say there would be some negotiation that needs to go on, and reasonable compensation needs to be afforded to whoever gains and whoever loses the property.
Okay, thank you. And the microphone down to Marlene. And oh, Reed's going to do the easy way. Very good.
All right. In my experience, encroachments need to go. Basically, you're taking over somebody else's property, whether it's your neighbor's property or it's the property that we all own in community. Again, when you move here, you get all the paperwork, you know where your property lines are. I'm sorry to all the people that may have unwittingly encroached, but it's not the correct thing to do in our city, and it needs to be corrected.
Thank you. Jane.
I think rules are rules. Now, I realize everyone wants to go run around and say, well, there's always exceptions to the rules. And I actually am one of the first ones to say that. However, in this particular case, because we have limited parklands and limited open space, we do need to respect those rules here. I don't think that we can go down the road and that dirty rabbit hole of selling parkland again, just because someone says, oh, oops, sorry, I put my bathroom over there and I didn't check it out. I didn't get a lot survey or hire a surveyor for $1,000. I just did it anyway. We've seen that's very painful for the home association to go down that rabbit hole. I don't think we should do it again. We do have to respect property lines and who actually owns those parklands. The city does, and that's that.
Thank you. Dick.
I agree completely that the encroached land needs to be returned to the city. I guess it's just that simple.
Okay, thank you. John.
Back in 2013, Reed and I walked all of our lanes and paths and parklands and made an inventory of all these encroachments with pictures and photos and diagrams and maps, and we presented that to the city. Today, about 20% of those have been fixed. So that's not an acceptable outcome. The rules and laws need to be abided, and the restrictions don't give you the option to get out of that. The problem is it's too easy to ignore the direction you're given from the city to remove these things. And there's so many instances of that happening, going through all the processes in these chambers, decisions being made, and then nothing happens. I wrote up a proposal and I gave it to the city council earlier this year. And the proposal is we need to make the penalties much, much higher. And penalties that keep going up to the point where people will view it in their own self-interest to implement the direction that they're given. So if you start with a big number like $10,000 or $20,000, every 6 months that you don't do it, it doubles. Pretty soon somebody who's been parking out on parkland will get the word and do that. An important part of that is an amnesty period. So for the first year, everybody has an amnesty to be able to fix up whatever they have without any penalty at all. But after that, if you haven't taken care of it, it will become your problem. And if you get caught with it, you will have the penalty. It's not like you have a penalty if you don't do anything. You need to take care of it now, and that's the way I would solve it.
Thank you, John. Reed.
We saw all sorts of encroachments on the study that we've done. Some of them were walls on parklands that prevented other people from actually accessing other areas of parklands, like entrances to parklands. There were some basketball courts, a lot of gardens, different degrees. There was some fencing. Sometimes there was even some garages, some improvements on parklands. The parklands are not an individual's own property. So I agree that that has to be resolved. Now, when it's something like a house or something, or like a garage, normally we didn't see it. It's normally like the landscape improvements that are encroachments, not an actual house or something. But those can be modified. And so I think that we should uphold these, our parkland rights and, have these encroachments resolved. And one thing on the encroachments, another issue is that there's two types of encroachments, on parkland and on right-of-way. And I think to some extent on the right-of-way, there could be a little leeway more in planning, maybe some other issues, but we do have some policies on this, and I think they need to be enforced.
Okay, thank you.